Back now with the panel, and we had a unique situation here in that Mick Mulvaney ended up hearing a panel discussion that he actually might not have heard had our satellite worked on time that time. But he clearly, Eddie Glaude, was reacting to you in particular in that interview. Right. What did you hear from him?
First of all, I can give less than a damn what Mick Mulvaney thinks about what I say, to be honest with you. He can't even acknowledge that it was a domestic terrorist act. How many times did you use the phrase and he wouldn't acknowledge it? What did he say? He said it was a person who was crazy, a nut with guns, right? And that's always the case, right? If it was a Muslim, it would have been a terrorist act. Donald Trump would have already been on television, not a tweet. He would have already done a press conference, right? But when it's white men engaging in this sort of action, we get this sort of account, right? That we want to go to their mental health. Let's just stipulate that they're crazy. Let's stipulate that they're crazy.
Everybody who kills people are crazy.
Something's wrong. Let's stipulate to that. Yeah. But there's an ideology at work here. When you use the same language that we've heard, the same language that we heard in the clip. And let me say this, for a lot of folk in this country who are black and brown, for a lot of folk in this country who are not white men, it feels as if some white men have lost their damn minds, Chuck, and we have to bear the burden of it.
Look, probably the biggest back and forth he and I got into was the issue of whether the president's language matters here or not. I do want to put together a mash here of what the president has said about immigration just in the last few months.
We have to end human smuggling, stop human trafficking, shut down sanctuary cities, deport criminal aliens. When you see these caravans starting out with 20,000 people, that's an invasion. I was badly criticized for using the word invasion. It's an invasion. Look at the people they put into these lotteries. It's a disgrace.
Pat McCrory, look, the tweets that he does on this are sometimes much worse, but this is just the language at the rallies. And this has been, again, is it fair to hold the president's words, to hold him responsible for some of his words and whether or not he's contributing to
Not
this?
Those words, absolutely not. I disagree with my friend who we're going to have a golf match sometime near the future. No, I think using the term illegal immigration, and Mick is totally right on that, the chief of staff. The term
what
illegal
about invasion? Wait. Let's talk about invasion and things like that.
If you look at the numbers of people coming across the border, and by the way, this is not just true with the United States and Mexico, and by the way, it's invasion from the Central America, but Venezuela is having a similar issue. We've had parts of this problem in Europe. When you have tens of thousands
of people. Is it an invasion? Why can't it be a refugee? I don't mean to say here words matter, but the argument's going to be that words matter. Why can't it be a refugee crisis?
Well, again, we're getting into PC political correctness, and if that's the big debate about what tenor or what word we're going to use, you're right.
I mean, an invasion is hostile, and a refugee crisis is not.
Well, to the Border Patrol people who feel their life is at threat and they're trying to do everything they can to protect our border, if this was happening at the customs at New York Airport or Charlotte Douglas International and O'Hare, and all of a sudden people were rushing the customs, we would say this is a serious problem.
Well, what I really take issue with what Mulvaney said was the first thing we spoke of when he said this is a crazy person with a gun. I think when a particular group is targeted by a mass murderer, whether it's Jews in Pittsburgh or whether it's Hispanics in El Paso, I think the President of the United States needs to acknowledge that, because I think Hispanics feel afraid right now. Jews felt great pain.
He seems to be comfortable. He did finally get comfortable pointing out the rise in anti-Semitism. Now he's tried to somehow make it as if it's only one side that has created this rise of anti-Semitism, but he won't on this.
But I think it would behoove the president to acknowledge that aspect of this crime right now, and to say, all Americans are with this country's Hispanic community right now, and that's what he's failed to do on a lot of at many points after these sort of incidents.
What you just said there, Casey Hunt, can you imagine him even tweeting, "We stand with the Hispanic Americans today"?
It is very hard to conceive of that. I'm interested to see if the president takes this opportunity to step up or not. I mean, so far, I think, clearly we are all saddened by what happened, and we are all concerned about these communities. That is absolutely true. But I mean, it is rather astonishing to me that they want to blow straight through this conversation that we're having about the rhetoric and what it means, and talk about things that are related to gun control, which normally they would never want to bring up.
I was just going to be the fact that their preference was to talk about he almost was hoping it would be a gun control conversation.
But we can't quit talking about such things as human trafficking and drugs. Because as a mayor and a governor, I've seen the impact of that, and we cannot deny that language in a total debate.
At the end of the day, we're at a moment, an inflection point. We have to decide who we're going to be, Chuck. And that's a moral question, not just a political question.
I think that's what we're going to be talking about quite a bit this week. That's all we have for today. I know it's been a tough Sunday. Thank you for watching. Thanks for sticking with us. We'll be back next week because if it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press. Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.